We are not looking for conflict, but we will never allow oppression to take over the seas. America stands for liberty, and we will protect it for our citizens, our allies, and for the long-term peace of the world. That was President Trump's direct message to Beijing, a clear line drawn across the Pacific. But only a few days later, China chose to ignore it. At 3:38 p.m. in the South China Sea, the USS John Finn moved steadily through calm waters, sunlight flickering across its gray hull. It is a routine patrol, a standard freedom of navigation mission, nothing out of the ordinary. Then a radar operator leans in, eyes narrowing at the screen. 2 new contacts, fast-moving, no identification codes, no AIS signal. The blips appear at the eastern edge of the display and begin closing in at more than 40 knots. That is not normal traffic. That is intercept speed. Inside the Combat Information Center, the mood changes instantly. 2 warships bearing 138, closing fast. Moments later, the radar picture sharpens and the silhouettes become clear. 2 Chinese Type 052D guided missile destroyers. These are not small patrol vessels. These are heavily armed frontline warships. Their wakes stretch long and white behind them, cutting through the sea like blades. On the bridge, the tension builds like electricity in the air. The first officer steps to the window and lifts binoculars. The ships are now visible on the horizon, gray shapes against gray water, their upper structures reflecting the sun. No reply to radio calls, no adjustment in course, only more speed. The captain steps onto the bridge without saying a word. His eyes move from the screen to the sea and then to the horizon. He does not need to speak. The crew already understands. Stay on course. Record everything. Do not provoke. This is the Navy's quiet form of resolve. Below, in the CIC, the Aegis combat system works with precise calm, tracking lines, plotting movement, and building the picture in real time. The SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite starts capturing every radar pulse coming from the Chinese ships, frequency, duration, modulation, all of it. Every second adds another layer to the digital record. They're painting us on radar, one technician reports after translation. Surface track mode. Not friendly, not hostile yet, but definitely a signal. Outside, the ocean still looks peaceful. A few clouds drift overhead. Sunlight dances across the destroyer's deck. But inside, hearts pound beneath layers of Kevlar and steel. Then another voice cuts through the silence. Closest point of approach, less than 2 nautical miles. 2 miles between warships is not just close, it is a direct challenge. Maintain speed, hold heading, the captain answers, calm and steady. Even his tone sends a message. At 3:47, both Chinese destroyers shift formation. Instead of coming straight in, they spread apart, one moving to port, the other to starboard, boxing in the John Finn with near-perfect symmetry. It is a classic display of pressure. The message is obvious. We are on both sides of you. The bridge-to-bridge radio calls go out again in English and Mandarin. Unidentified naval vessels. This is a United States warship conducting lawful operations in international waters. Maintain a safe distance. No answer. Only the sound of the sea returns through the static. The captain gives a brief nod. Launch the Seahawk. Minutes later, an MH-60R helicopter lifts off the deck, its rotor wash tearing across the water. Inside, the crew powers up its targeting systems and begins zooming in on the Chinese destroyers, locking onto radar domes, launch cells, and deck details. Every frame is recorded, every signal is logged. Then, without warning, one of the Chinese ships fires a green laser toward the Seahawk, a clear attempt to intimidate. The American crew stays composed. The sensor operator marks the beam's source, tags the coordinates, and locks the camera onto the point of origin. Laser source identified, he reports. The information is transmitted straight into the ship's intelligence feed. Back on the bridge, the captain keeps his eyes on the radar. The Chinese destroyers are still moving closer now, just over a mile away. No raised voices, no dramatic warnings, no emotion, only procedure. Inside the ship, the room feels cold, even under the weight of tropical heat outside. Between the vessels, the sea boils into white foam as all 3 ships surge forward side by side through open water. The John Finn stays steady, silent yet unshaken, a moving wall of steel, training, and discipline. As the tension grows thick enough to feel in your chest, every sailor understands one thing clearly. This is not a drill. This is pressure at sea, a modern contest of nerves, where radar, restraint, and resolve matter as much as firepower. And for now, no one is giving way. The ocean may look calm, but on the radar display, it is pure turbulence. Two red contacts, Chinese Type 05 2D destroyers, hold the USS John Finn between them, one on each side, closing in hard and fast. They are so near now that their radar emissions merge into a constant pulse across the electronic warfare console. It is the kind of distance that makes even experienced sailors feel the tension rise. CPA 1.8 nautical miles and decreasing, the Combat Information Officer reports. The captain bends over the chart table, one hand planted, voice even. Maintain course, maintain speed, no hesitation, no extra radio traffic, no change in direction. That is the rule. Freedom of navigation is not only about movement through open water, it is also about discipline under pressure. Inside the Combat Information Center, the low hum of electronics blends with the sound of boots striking steel decks. Every few seconds, a fresh update comes in. Bearing, speed, signal strength. The SLQ-32 continues to capture everything, building a precise digital record of Chinese fire control behavior. To someone unfamiliar with naval warfare, it might sound like static and noise. To Navy analysts, it is highly valuable intelligence. Above the ship, the MH-60R Seahawk flies low and steady along the destroyer's starboard side. Its cameras sweep toward the Chinese vessels, capturing hull markings, deck layouts, radar arrays, every detail rotating into view with deliberate precision. Inside the aircraft, the crew keeps communication brief and exact. Visual on both vessels. Type 052D class confirmed. Laser emitter previously logged, now inactive. The Chinese ships hold formation, one on each flank, matching John Finn's speed exactly, knot for knot. It is a deliberate mirror, a carefully shaped display meant to send a message without ever firing a shot. Then another quiet update comes from electronic warfare. Active surface track detected again. That is about as close as a trigger gets without being pulled. The captain keeps his eyes on the tactical display. Continue recording. No response. At 3:56 p.m., one of the Chinese destroyers moves closer, narrowing the distance to 1.5 nautical miles off the Finn's port bow. Through binoculars, American sailors can make out crew members moving near the forward gun mount. Helmets on, no visible weapons, but the motion alone is enough to raise heart rates across the bridge. Recommend slight course adjustment, sir, the navigator says quietly. Negative, hold steady. For several long minutes, the warships run parallel, massive gray silhouettes separated by little more than open salt water and only seconds of reaction time. From above, the Seahawk's live video pours directly into CIC. On screen, it looks like a silent chess match, ships shifting by fractions, each waiting to see whether the other will make the first real move. Then the radio breaks through the tension with a burst of static, followed by a clipped voice in Mandarin accented English. Unidentified American warship. You are in Chinese territorial waters. Leave immediately. No anger. No shouting. Just a statement delivered like policy through a speaker. The answer from the bridge is immediate and by the book. This is a United States warship operating in accordance with international law. We will maintain course. After that, the air seems heavier. Nobody speaks. Only the sound of engines fills the silence, a low mechanical pulse rolling through the ship like a heartbeat. Then, below deck, the EW screens spike. One of the Chinese destroyers has switched briefly to high-power radar mode. Fire control radar lock. Brief pulse, the operator says. Heads turn instantly, muscles tighten. For half a second, it feels as if the moment has tipped too far. Then the signal fades. No sustained lock, no further escalation. The Chinese ship drops back to passive sweep. It is the closest thing to a warning without crossing the final line. Log it, the captain says, still calm. Continue tracking. The pressure does not disappear. It simply changes shape. Both Chinese destroyers begin maneuvering again, sliding slightly aft while keeping their flank positions, then slowly opening the distance. On the bridge, the executive officer watches their wakes stretch thinner behind them. They're backing off, he says under his breath. The captain studies the radar display a moment longer, the entire encounter reduced to arcs and symbols glowing across the screen. They got what they came for, he says at last. So did we. Above, the Seahawk tilts into its final orbit, cameras locked on the retreating ships. The footage captures the real story with perfect clarity. No exchange of fire, no collision, no panic, only strength expressed through patience and power measured by who could hold steady the longest. 30 minutes after the first radar contact, the South China Sea appears calm once more. But every sailor aboard the John Finn knows appearances can be misleading. The storm has already passed, and it was built from silence, pressure, and discipline. By 4:35 p.m., the confrontation has run its course. The Chinese destroyers reduce speed to 20 knots, their engines leaving faint trails of smoke behind them. Their tight formation begins to loosen, one turning east, the other drifting south, until both slowly disappear into the haze on the horizon. Only faint radar traces remain, small pulses blinking across the USS John Finn's display. The captain gives one final command. Secure from general quarters. Maintain course. No celebration, no speeches, no commentary. Just the quiet professionalism of a warship returning to routine. Above deck, the Seahawk helicopter drops through the salt mist and lands smoothly. Its crew powers down, eyes still fixed on the fading wakes in the distance. The air carries the sharp mix of fuel and sea spray, the kind of scent that clings to a uniform long after the mission is over. Below, inside the Combat Information Center, sailors begin preserving the record of the encounter. Every radar emission, every frequency pulse, every transmission, and every moment of silence is logged with exact detail. Hours of data gathered during minutes of tension. The value of it is enormous. Two of China's most advanced destroyers have just revealed how their Type 346A radar systems behave under real operational pressure. For US analysts, that is far more than a routine incident. It is a major intelligence gain. The captain studies the track lines spread across the chart table. 3 ships converging, shadowing, separating. A near-perfect diagram of psychological pressure at sea. No rounds fired, no damage, no course change, the executive officer says quietly. That's a win. The captain gives only a small nod. In modern naval strategy, succeeding without escalation can be the most difficult move of all. Outside, the ocean stretches wide and peaceful again, calm under the fading light. But the sailors standing watch know better. Calm does not always mean safety. Sometimes it only means the next challenge has not started yet. Everyone aboard understands this was never just about navigation. It was about signals. Beijing wanted to demonstrate control. Washington wanted to demonstrate staying power. The real contest was never speed or weapons. It was about who would yield first. As evening begins to settle over the sea, the John Finn continues exactly where it intended to go. In the logbook, the entire encounter is reduced to only a few formal lines. Encountered 2 PLA Navy destroyers. Maintained course, continued mission. There was no direct attack and operations continued on schedule. But for the crew, the moment will not be remembered as routine. They will remember the silence between radar returns, the pressure in the air, and the feeling of 2 world powers measuring each other across open water. Later, in Pearl Harbor and Washington, specialists will go over the encounter frame by frame. They will examine the Chinese ship's formation changes, their silence on the radio, and the electronic signatures they left behind. That information will be used in simulators, training programs, and strategic briefings that influence future patrols. What may look ordinary in an official report becomes one more move in a global contest that grows more delicate with every encounter. For the sailors on board, the lesson is more immediate. They saw what restraint looks like at close range. They felt what pressure becomes when it travels through steel, machinery, and silence. And they learned that control at sea is not about who makes the most noise. It is about who remains steady under pressure. As the last light fades over the South China Sea, a young ensign looks toward the horizon and quietly asks, almost to himself, "Do you think this is how it begins?" The captain standing nearby answers just as quietly, "No. This is how it is prevented." The USS John Finn continues forward, its wake glowing white against the fading gold of the evening. The ocean erases the visible signs of what happened. But deep inside the ship's secure systems remains the full record, proof of the encounter and of how close the tension came. Because in the modern era, conflict at sea rarely starts with the obvious. It starts with pressure, distance, and decisions made without a word. And on this day, discipline proves stronger than intimidation. The horizon ahead remains open, at least for now. So what is your view? Was this encounter meant as a warning, or was it a sign of something bigger taking shape? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more sharp, detailed naval coverage from the world's most sensitive waters, subscribe, leave a like, and stay with us for the next breakdown. Because out here, the strongest force is not firepower, it is composure.